5 simple steps for hiring great people. What I'm going to share with you today are what we found from decades of working with our own 5 businesses, as well as working with literally thousands of other businesses and examining, determining what works best, what doesn't work, includes hundreds of hours of reading, of testing, of failing, of finding what works, refining it, improving it, working with our own clients, as well as clients that have been brought to us with other people. It's been an incredible journey, and what I'm going to reveal to you today are how do fast-growing companies grow faster by hiring great people. So you're going to learn 10 things today. What you'll learn are the 5 simple steps for hiring great people. You'll learn how to make certain that you get the person who's the right fit. If you're going to hire someone, you really want to make sure that they're the right person for your company. So often we are asked by our clients, how do we motivate our people, or how do we attract motivated people? We're going to share with you how to do that today. We'll also go over what we found to be the 8 biggest mistakes that most employers make. And it's interesting, and we'll give you a clear idea as to why so many new hires fail. So many businesses have also thought that, well, we can hire someone, they seem to be good, but we'll put them on probation. Well, probation periods don't work. You'll find out today why they don't work and exactly how you can avoid having to run into those kinds of problems and even needing a probationary period, because you're going to get the first time hire is going to be the right person. Now, there's a way to test candidates so that you only hire the best ones. We're going to share with you today exactly how to do that. And there's a strategy that has new hires right out of the bat become very productive, very profitable, very beneficial for you. How do you do that? There is a proven method, and we're going to show you how to do that. And also, very important to learn the unbelievably high cost when you hire the wrong person and then have to replace them. So this is going to be a lot of information. We're going to cover a lot, and my goal is to give you just a ton of value today. So it costs too much to hire the wrong person. Do you believe that? Well, whether you believe it or not, surveys have shown that it costs anywhere from 50%, that means 6 months of someone's annual salary, to as much as 40 times or 4,000% of their annual salary. This has been our experience. I've had that in my own businesses, where I've hired someone who was I thought was terrific, and then, you know, after a couple of weeks I wasn't so sure, after a few months, and then it just turned into a nightmare. I've had clients who've hired people who, had they done the proper hiring process, they would have avoided thousands of dollars in losses that occurred because of theft, of lost clients, of turnover of other quality employees because they antagonized the other people. The wrong person can absolutely undermine and destroy your business and can have a tremendous negative effect. And at the higher levels of people, they can actually crater your business and cause your business to fail completely. So it's absolutely important you understand that you need to invest properly the time and effort to hire the right person, because the cost of the wrong person is just too expensive. Now, what's amazing is, as high as those costs are, most companies do a horrible job in hiring. And in fact, 81% of all new hires fail. And this is a study by Leadership IQ, and these are with larger companies that presumably have professional teams, professional practices. I can tell you they don't have the 5 steps we're going to share with you. And because of that, what they find is they hire someone, they have the right skill level, they think they're testing them for the right things. However, what happens is, for a variety of reasons, they fail. What we have found to be interesting is that only 11% of new hires fail because they lack the technical skill or background necessary to do the job. What's the other 89%? The majority of the time, that other 89% of failure can be described as nothing else other than they had the wrong attitude. They lacked motivation. They weren't a right cultural fit for the company. That failure in hiring the right type of person, even if they had the right skill level, results in a failure. And it results in the kinds of costs we talked about of anywhere from 50% to 4,000% of their annual salary. So what's the solution? What we have uncovered is that there's just 5 simple steps that when you design your hiring properly, when you use it properly, we have found that, in fact, 83% of the people who are hired actually succeed. Now, is that true every time? Obviously not. It's only 83% of the time. And very often, it does take some development with a given company to refine and develop their system. But once it has proven, once we've uncovered the proper way to institute those simple steps, it works again and again and again. So what are those 5 steps? The first is you must define the position. Well, a lot of times people will say, well, they're an accountant or they're an administrative assistant. They think a title is a definition. There's a lot more to that. And we'll talk to you about what those steps are. It's key. There are other parts to defining it. You have to know, where do they fit in the company? What really is their role? What are their tasks? Who do they communicate with? What are the attributes? Defining that is the key, is the first step to being able to hire the right person. Then once you've defined them, you have to attract that person. What are the ways to do it? Well, there are so many different ways, from employee referrals, from online. We're going to cover some of that with you today. And then you want to qualify that. Now that you've attracted potential candidates, you want to make sure that they really have the qualities that qualify them to work in your company, to work in your business and work in that role. They may actually be a great fit for your company, but do they qualify for that role? Then it's, how do you engage them? How do you get them to want to work with you? How do you get them to work with you and to commit to being with you, not just to try it out, but committed to your mission, to your vision, to building your business with you? And there are so many highly motivated people. People want to belong. How do you engage them? We'll talk about that. And then, how do you get them on board? How do you get them to start with you so that they have a powerful start? You can only start once. You can start again and again, but you want to get off to the right foot. What do they say? You only get one chance for a first impression. How do you create the best first impression? How do you get somebody started with your company so that they are able to be productive, profitable, engaged from day one? We're going to share that with you today. So in step one, it's defining that role, defining that person. The first part of that is you need a business organizational chart. Then you need a culture statement. Then you must write a position description and then a position agreement. So let's go through all this. What's an organizational chart? An organizational chart is by position. It is not by name. It's not like Bob or Joe or me as the owner. It's what is that position? Is it the COO, the Chief Operating Officer? Is it the Chief Executive Officer? Is it the administrator, the manager, office manager? Is it sales manager? Is it finance? Are you looking for a salesperson? Are you looking for a bookkeeper? Are you looking for someone who is at a high level? Are you looking for someone at a clerical level? Understanding where they fit in your organization is key. And before you begin to define that position in great detail, it's so important to address the culture of your business. What's a culture statement? A culture statement is just 6 to 14 words that really define what your business is. And you want a brief description of those. What is it to be part of your business? Is it about customer service? Is it about integrity? Is it about honesty? Now, you can say that those are all great, but what are the key ones? Ritz-Carlton has a culture statement. Zappos, a fast-growing online business that sells shoes, one of the keys that they recognized early on is they weren't a shoe company, they were a service company. That's their culture. So if someone wasn't of the mindset to be of service, they weren't a cultural fit. Then, as you look at the particular position that you're hiring, you need to write the detail of all of those elements of that position. Be clear. Be specific. What will someone do? Who will they interact? How will you determine if they're successful in it? Who do they report to? Who are they responsible for? What skills do they need to have? Important to have all those details. Then you have a position agreement. What is that position agreement? Well, you probably want to have your lawyer involved in this. You want to make sure that you're clear what their title is, what their compensation is, vacation, what their expected work tasks are, hours. Are they subject to a non-compete or confidentiality agreements? What are all those elements? And certainly, you can go to one of these online services and have that drawn. We recommend that you be clear, write the first draft, then work with your attorney to have it done on a completely binding legal basis to protect you and your business. So now that you're clear who you're looking for, then it's attracting them. How do you get them to apply to join your company? Well, the first thing is write your advertisement. Now, you may think a simple list is all that's necessary, but the advertisement is exactly like an advertisement for selling anything. You are actually marketing and selling your business. You're marketing and selling this position. Make it attractive. Speak to the person that you want to hire. Then you have to place the advertisements where the person that you are speaking to is going to see it. So let's say you're looking to hire an engineer. Do the engineers that you're looking for, do they spend a lot of time on Facebook or Snapchat? Or are they more likely to be in LinkedIn or perhaps in a trade bulletin board or trade organization? Beware. Place those advertisements where the people you're looking for are going to find them. Then you review those responses. And how you do that has to be very specific as to what you're looking for. And I don't, again, depending on the position, you may get 10 responses, you may get 1,000. In hiring an administrative assistant, I once received 460 resumes. Now, I gave very clear, specific instructions to someone that I hired solely for this purpose to review those responses, and I gave them clear criteria of what to look for, and then to invite them to an interview. And there was a very clear script of email of what was sent to them and how it was responded. You may want to use phone or not. Again, what works best for you is based on the specific position. And then an interview. For many positions, we like to use group interviews. Now, you say group interviews, that seems like a cattle call. Well, what we have found is that a group interview can be really powerful. It saves a tremendous amount of time for us, and it also, when you're hiring a position where people will have to interact with different people, it gives a great opportunity to see how they interact with others in a group. In fact, even interacting with people that they may be competing for in the position. Or at certain high-level positions, you may say, well, gee, this really needs to be of a very confidential nature. We need to do private interviews. Well, that's fine as well, but how can you streamline the interview process so that where you're talking about your company, where you're getting them excited and engaging them, you're doing it in a very efficient way so that you're using the interview time most effectively. We're so much about how can we do this repeatably, how can we do it effectively, how can we do it scalably. But you have to do these five parts in order to attract the right people for the interview. Then it's the qualification. How do you qualify those applicants? Well, from the interview, you must select the candidates for the test drive. What's a test drive? Well, a test drive is communicated to all attendees only after you've developed it. So, or you could develop it, depending on your time, after you've invited people. But what is a test drive? A test drive is a simulated work environment, much like we've all seen airplane pilot simulations. When they're testing a pilot, they don't put them in a real plane, they put them in a simulator and test them in various situations. Takeoff, landing, what happens in the event of a wind shear, what happens in the event there's a challenge with equipment or instrumentation. That's what you want to build. You want to build that test environment. And you want to communicate to all the attendees to invite them to a test drive. Not all of them, but the top candidates. Typically, it may be 1, it may be 5 out of a half dozen or even dozens. We've had group interviews where we've had dozens of people attend and have invited 4 attendees for a test drive. Now, anyone who comes to an interview, we definitely will communicate with, but we will only invite for a test drive not the best candidates, but only those that we truly believe are the right fit. Don't invite someone because they're the best available. Invite them because they could be and look to be the right person at that initial test, at the initial interview. And during the test drive, you're going to really find out, what about their attitude? Are they a cultural fit? What's their working style? You'll have some test on their technical knowledge as well. You want to really engage them and see what it looks like in a 3 to 8 hour test. What is it like for them to work with you? You might engage in certain personality, character, drug testing. Those can be very important things. And we recommend that you want to make sure that someone is the right fit. If you don't have the skill at making that assessment, there are some terrific testing programs available, a variety of services, organizations that can do this, so that you understand that you're getting a person who's the right fit for your company and the right fit for this position. And then you really need to be prepared with the interview questions. Now, there may be interview questions that you prepared for all candidates. And then, as you get to know this person better, you see them in their work environment, in the testing environment, you may have very specific questions that will vary from candidate to candidate. But you want to have those written out and prepared. Don't do it on the fly. Be organized. And by doing that in advance, you are going to be able to focus on the candidate and not focus on what should I ask next. And then you have that test drive and interview. It's during this test drive that you're really going to uncover objectively how they perform in a variety of environments. And you want to test for anywhere from 3 to 6 key skill levels and situations and see how they perform. We highly recommend that you check references and that you do a background check as well. Unfortunately, we have clients who have hired people who, had they done a proper background check, would have uncovered serious problems and could have avoided near catastrophic challenges to their business had they actually done proper background checks. So we recommend that you do it either yourself or, even better, to hire professional organizations who do this. They can do it very cost effectively, they can do it far better than you can, and they can also do it in a way that prevents any kind of legal challenges. So we really recommend that you do things on a professional basis so that you can get the best results and also do it in a way that you have the appropriate legal protections. Next, you want to engage your candidates. What does that mean, to engage? It's to get them to buy in to your company, to buy into your culture, to buy in to your people and your team. That begins with every communication, but very importantly, at the very first interview. You want them to experience what you are. If you are a fun environment, the interview should be fun. If you're very serious and you're very much about efficiency and diligence, you want them to experience that. Have the interview demonstrate your culture and the right people will be excited about it. They'll say, this is what I'm looking for. I don't want to be with a business or an organization that is haphazard or disorganized. Or they may say, I want a business where it's creative and free-flowing. If that's who you are, create that environment in the interview, and that will engage them. Next is the test drive. The test drive should also reflect not just the position, but your culture. What will it really be like when they work in your company? You might want to have them engage in experiences, and again, you want it to be consistent. So you want a test track that is the same every time. And if you can do it through an automated process, great. If it needs to be a live person, you really want the same person following the same script on your team, engaging in them, so that you have a standard by which you measure. But you want that test drive to say, wow, now I really get what this is about. I really get what this company is. I like this. You want them to feel empowered that they can be part of a tremendous team. That's what a great test drive can do. And your very position, offer, and acceptance also needs to be engaging. It needs to be written in a way that they really see the benefits, the value. It's clear. And they understand clearly what's expected of them, what the position is. So many times it's, well, I need help, and we want you to replace Susan, or we want you to replace me, the owner, or we want you to replace Mr. Jenkins, who does the office manager. But in fact, what we find very often when we look at a person is really an overlap of 2, 3, or 4 positions. And is the person you're hiring really the right fit? As your organization grows, you really want to make sure that you're hiring for the right person for the right position, and being clear in how you communicate that and the position offer and how you actually conduct that acceptance needs to be engaging so they feel empowered. And finally, step 5 is onboarding. And there's a couple of parts to that. Well, there's certainly the human resources requirements. You want to make sure that you address that in a way where you address all the legal issues, and it's done day one, right off the bat, because that's really the day where they're going to be least productive for you. Get that taken care of, get that completed, and then begin a very formal onboarding experience. What is onboarding? Onboarding could be their first 6 hours, their first 6 days, their first 6 months, their first year. We feel it's absolutely critical to really choreograph the first 2 weeks. What's the training they will receive? Who will they be engaged with? Make sure they have the right resources. What's their first day look like? Who is going to be working with them? Is it their boss, or is it a peer, or is it someone in another group who just is the right fit to help them come on board with your culture? Depending on your business, it could be any one of those, or there may be a combination for different elements. How can you streamline that first 2 weeks? Now, working with a company in a very technical area, they said, well, it actually takes us 6 months from when we hire someone for them to be profitable and productive for us. Well, we looked at what they were doing in their training and tested, refined, measured, and reduced their initial training to 2 weeks, so that after 2 weeks of intensive training, that person could actually be productive. Were they at the highest level of production? Not that they would be after 6 months or a year, but they were able to contribute. They felt engaged as part of the team, and they were actually profitable for the company, earning revenue after 2 weeks. That's the power of proper onboarding. It's a win-win-win for everyone. It's a win for the person who's being hired. It's a win for the team. It's a win for the business. And actually a win for the customers, that whoever they're engaged with is really empowered and trained to be able to work with them. So that's the complete 5-step plan. It's defining it, which is the business organizational chart, culture statement, the position agreement, the position description, and the position agreement. Then step 2 is attracting. It's writing the advertisement, placing it, a process for how you review those responses, and invite someone to an interview. And you must attract them to that initial interview. That is key. And in fact, the interview must attract them as you tell the story of your business. Step 3, qualifying them. How have you assessed those people at the interview so you determine who is appropriate to invite to the test drive? You communicate to them and invite them to the test drive. And those who aren't, send a polite response. It may be that you actually invite them to a test drive for a different position. Or you may want to keep that on file, or you may just want to be polite because they're really not the right fit. You schedule and organize all of the testing, interviewing, background checks, reference guides. Make sure it's right. Then you engage them. You do the formal interview and test drive, and then position offer and acceptance. Now, understand that you're qualifying them with an interview and test drive, but your interview and test drive needs to be in a way that is also engaging them, that they feel empowered, they feel attracted, they want to be a part of your company. Then you secure that with the position offer and acceptance. And then finally, step 5, onboarding. 2 parts. It's all the legal aspects. Very important to do that you work with a lawyer, and again, I recommend a lawyer who specializes in employment contracts, human resources, as well as a human resources firm. If you're doing any testing, anything else, applications, anything else that you have filled out, make sure that you are following all of the rules, regulations for hiring, and that may be specific to your industry. And then I can't emphasize enough how critical it is to design their first 2 weeks. You want the first 2 weeks to be a carefully orchestrated and choreographed performance, so that they really are learning, engaged, excited, and at the end of those 2 weeks, they can start to be productive. It's better for you, it's better for them, it's better for your business, it's better for the team. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. In the subject, it should say 5 steps for hiring. So please put that, and then send it to me at my email, jeffwilson@loomview.com. So I'm going to leave that up for a moment. And again, just in closing, say it's so exciting to be able to share with you what we have found has worked for dozens of industries and hundreds of businesses as the best practices for consistently hiring great people. So again, any questions, send an email to 5 steps for hiring That should be your subject. And the email should be jeffwilson@loomview.com. Thank you so much, and we look forward to having you join in our other webinars where we'll go further and deeper into how you can use these 5 steps for hiring great people.